Welcome to another edition of the Undercovers podcast. In today's edition, we're talking about some matchups on the Bills schedule, dive into some minicamp and roster construction. So let's dive right in.
Yeah, NFL schedule. We talked last week, about this schedule and mock schedules. I think I maybe picked I think I just got maybe like two or one game right out of the whole schedule. Like
I didn't even check my X's.
I got like the general gist of where games was. Like I said, Jets would be early in the season. Away, home against Miami would be early in the season. I picked Miami to end at or home against Miami. I think I actually did pick, to end home in Miami and in New England, something like that. But I like the schedule we got, I would say, because like when you look at it, we're the only team in the league not to go on the road in consecutive weeks. We do have back-to-back road games where we play, last year's Super Bowl matchup going to Philly before going to KC. But luckily we have a bye after going to Philly and before heading to KC, kind of, what we'll talk about. But the Bills, you heard so many rumors about the Jets being this hot team getting 6 primetime games. And while they got that Amazon Prime standalone game and other games, the Bills ended up with 6 primetime games on top of a London game, which is going to be international. So, the Jets fans are clamoring for their team, but the Bills rate well. And that's the week 1 matchup. We all talked about last week how many times we played the Jets to open up the season. And that's who we're starting out the year with. Aaron Rodgers on 9/11 on Monday Night Football, where Josh Allen is 3-3, by the way. It's going to be an interesting matchup. McDermott is 3-0 against the Jets all time, week 1. Rodgers, of course, is 2-2 versus the Bills. And he hasn't been the best week 1 quarterback. If you wanted something a little easier out of the gate, this is going to be a tough matchup. Don't get me wrong, but I think people are forgetting the last year we went into the Super Bowl champions' house on opening kickoff. Granted, they lost Miller and Whitworth retired and OBJ, but that's still a team hanging their banner after winning the Super Bowl. The only banners the Jets hung last season were beating the Bills in week 5 or whatever. So, we traveled cross country and we won in the national spotlight week 1. Granted, we had Von Miller, but Breece Hall probably is going to be there. It's a very interesting matchup. I personally, you can go back to my Twitter, Jeremy White teased this possibility. Maybe he knew something about the schedule. I don't know how much, local personalities are plugged in as far as knowing the schedule. I don't even know if the players know the schedule, but he tweeted about it. And I said, I would very much like to get the Jets in New York as early as possible, because I don't think, Rodgers is going to fully be in sync with his receivers as far as being on the same page. The Jets O-line has question marks. I don't think it's going to be fully gelled week 1. So, I think that's almost an advantage to the Bills. What do you guys think?
Honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you, that's probably the one game I got right. It was week 1.
Week 1?
With Bills, Jets.
I said it was going to be Monday night. If you guys go back and play the recording last week, I said that Peter King guaranteed one of those games to be a Monday nighter. We got one of those to be a Monday nighter. Week 1.
To be honest with you, I've been riding that train for like 3 weeks now. I think I heard it on GR with Sal Capaccio talking about that Bills game. The Bills-Jets game is probably that Monday night game. It's 9/11. It's it's Bills-Jets. It's Rodgers versus Allen. It's just what makes the NFL go, ooh, yeah, that's the game I want on Monday Night Football.
Especially, the 9/11 game, the Bills trying to defend their AFC East title. We've ran that division the last 3 years, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, it hasn't really amounted to winning in the postseason necessarily, but we still have won the division. So until another team comes and wins, 12, 13 games, like right now, I think the Bills are still the favorite. If, you go into, a casino or go to Vegas or even, go on FanDuel or any of those sites, if you go to the favorites for the AFC East, the Bills are still listed as favorites. I know, I mean, you heard Bart Scott in the national media talk very loudly last offseason about how the Chiefs were done. And obviously, I mean, we all saw how that ended up turning out. So, I mean, I'd like to say the Jets are a Super Bowl team, but I mean, until they go out and win even 10 games, I mean, not even 10, 9 games, like they haven't had a winning record since Todd Bowles was the coach in 2015 and Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback.
Right.
I mean, every time they've had a chance to potentially make the playoffs or go on a run, they come into Buffalo and our defense takes it from them, quite frankly, right? I mean, Fitzpatrick threw 3 interceptions week 17 in that 2015 game, which I was at. And then last year, I was also at that Mike White game where he got knocked out. Man, it's now I guess it's not a good thing for Jets fans when I go to those games. So maybe go to that.
I think you look into that 9/11 thing.
Week 1, he will be ready week 1.
Should I go to week 1, Tommy, based on my track record with the Jets games?
You should go. Yeah, I would agree.
It might be pricey. Maybe we can, I know Bills Mafia always does a lot of fundraisers, so.
Yeah,
we'll do a fundraiser for week 1.
I saw that Cowboys Giants game leaked week 1. I was like, okay, this is the perfect opportunity for the Jets and Bills to open up on 9/11. And
see,
it came about.
I should have picked the Jets. Like, it just made too much sense. Like, I wanted Miami. I mean, like, selfishly as a Bills fan, because that's who we played last season. And frankly, they gave us the best run in the division because, I mean, they played us in the playoffs and, I mean, they nearly beat us in Buffalo too. They're up, 8 points in the fourth quarter, late in the season. I mean, that could have been a pivotal game if they won it because they were still kind of in the divisional race at that point. So I selfishly wanted Miami because, I mean, I wanted a primetime matchup at home where we get Mike McDaniel not, being cold and, our defense versus their offense with Tua, not with Skylar Thompson, because the season ended with Skylar Thompson in that quarterback. I want to play them at full strength. I want to beat them at full strength, kind of like the same thing with the Jets. But that being said, I am happy that, we play the Jets week 1 because history says, I mean, brand new quarterbacks typically don't have that hot of a start, to their time. I mean, Tom Brady started, I think, either 1-2, 2-3, somewhere along those lines. I mean, they were 7-6 at one point before getting hot and winning, 3 of the last games of the season. I mean, the Rams last year lost 3 games in a row to drop to 7-4. And I mean, Peyton Manning started 2-3. So, I mean, when you get a new quarterback, you don't always start out, scoring 30, 40 points a game. And I mean, I even think this Jets offense is maybe not as good as Jets fans might be giving them credit, because outside of Garrett Wilson, who's a very good receiver, I mean, I wouldn't say they have really any elite wide receiving talent or tight end talent. Like, they got some good guys. Like, I'm not the biggest Gabe guy, just because of his consistency and stuff. But I think I would take Gabe, and I think most people would take Gabe over Allen Lazard. I would. Hardy, I would even probably take Hardy almost over Hardman. I mean, that's close. I mean, but they're both kind of gadget guys, not world beaters per se. But I mean, Corey Davis, Mims, like, I really don't think they have elite receivers. Like, I mean, we got Diggs, we got Davis, Shakir, and Sherfield. Like, I think that's 4 solid guys. And then you add in Shorter to the mix, and our tight ends are significantly better than theirs. Like, I think Uzoma and Conklin are okay, but I mean, I think they're okay. Like, I think they're average, but they're no Dawson Knoxes.
No.
And they're definitely nowhere near Dalton Kincaid's as far as receiving options. I mean, week 1, Salah doesn't typically start off hot. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I mean, Breece Hall, too, is his ACL. I mean, the Jets usually always play us tough, but Josh Allen has 18 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions on Monday Night Football, which is a
Oh,
pretty
Jesus.
good stat to me. So, I mean, if you guys had to peg this week 1 win or loss, I would probably go W, but I don't know.
I think I'm with you there. I think it's gonna be like a tight game. I think it's gonna be like a 1-possession game down the stretch. I think it's gonna be like 24-4, maybe 2%, 24-14.
Yeah, that's what I think, Tommy, or maybe like
The key to this game
maybe
is
like
I was gonna say the key to
31 20, something like that, 21
Yeah,
31
something like
24, something along those lines.
I think 2 key injuries to keep an eye on is how if Von Miller's healthy and how healthy is Breece Hall's with both their ACLs, because both guys could enter the league on the PUP list. It's still a possibility that both guys.
Yeah,
I agree. I think,
and you think that's why maybe we picked up Shane Ray just in case Von's still
100%.
coming off the injury, which I thought that was a pretty good pickup, by the way. Like, yeah, he might not be Yannick, but he's going to be cheaper than Yannick, and
100%.
if he's healthy, I mean, I think he can get you 8 sacks as another guy.
Yeah.
So former first round pick.
100%.
I think I don't expect Breece Hall or Von Miller in that week 1 game. I don't think they're going to be ready. I mean,
but if you had to, pencil in a win or loss, Paul, how are you feeling right now? I know it's May 15th, so I mean, we're just under 4 months till the regular season.
Right now, I have my win losses in front of me right now on my computer.
Okay.
I have the Bills going 13-4, but they're dropping the first home game. They're dropping week 1.
Week 1. Okay, so you got this as a loss. Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we'll transition now to week 2. That's the home opener. That's an interesting home opener. I
Yeah.
tweeted out about it being a possibility just after the Jags game leaked and that Jets game. I was like, okay, we're not going to get the Jets back-to-back weeks for sure, week 1 and 2. And I doubt they're going to start us out with 2 divisional games to start the season, although they could. Maybe the Giants, but I mean, I doubt they'd start us in prime time back-to-back weeks again, although they could. So, I mean, the Raiders was probably just like a throwaway game. And honestly, I don't even really know what to expect, because when was the last time we've played Jimmy G? I think it was. Have we even ever played Jimmy G?
I feel like we played Jimmy G once when.
No, I don't think so. That was Brissett, because Jimmy G was hurt.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Brissett started that game. We shut them out. I don't think we've ever played Jimmy Garoppolo. How interesting of a factoid is that the first game that Jimmy G has ever played. I mean, maybe he's had some mop-up duty for Brady in games at times, but like the first game where Jimmy, I mean, StatMuse is always your friend. Let me look up Jimmy Garoppolo. I probably misspelled it. Stats versus Bills.
I don't know. That's an interesting.
Okay. He has a passer rating of 73.2 with 90 yards in 2 games versus the Bills. 90 total yards. So he's just, done kneel downs or whatever to that effect. Like, end of games type stuff in blowouts. So interesting.
Back to
Jimmy GQ's first start versus the Bills ever is as a member of the Raiders. Like, that's very interesting. If you would have told me that, back when he played in New England, like, I don't know. It's interesting.
I think if I'm going to go back to that game now I'm getting the memories back again. I think he started that game, but he got hurt mid-game, and Brissett came in. If I remember correctly.
I think Brissett started that game because he got hurt. He got hurt in the 3rd. That was the 4th game that Brady, that was the 4th game served to Brady's suspension. They started, I think they started 3-0 actually. Unfortunately, we were their only loss, and it was a 16-0 shutout.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that game.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think a lot of Patriots fans were actually upset at Jimmy because they thought he could have played that game, and he didn't want to, and he's like injury as an excuse. But I mean, who knows? Maybe who's a Vegas's backup? I know Brady's like buying as a part-time owner, but like, what happens if Jimmy actually? I mean, because Jimmy gets hurt a lot. Actually, what happens if Jimmy gets hurt week 1? I mean, I'm not wishing injury on someone, but I know they had
Stidham, but he went to Miami.
Stidham. Did they sign someone else?
I think
Hey,
I think
want-
he,
Heck, I thought they drafted one, Ben. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they probably drafted some. Didn't they? Oh wait, they got Didn't they get the Purdue quarterback? I believe.
yeah, they got Aiden O'Connell.
Ada
in the draft.
O'Connell. Yes, that's right. Yep. That's right. Okay, so they got O'Connell in the draft. That's not a bad selection.
This is the quarterback room: Garoppolo, Hoyer, Aiden
Hoyer,
O'Connell,
of course,
and
Hoyer.
Chase Garbers.
Of course, they have Brian Hoyer on that team. That makes sense. This is like
Makes
the
sense with Josh
Patriots West.
McDaniels.
Yep. So I mean, like Josh McDaniels, like I actually got to give him a little bit of credit because they were in most of their games. Like a lot of it either just came down to Derek Carr making turnovers or their defense. They didn't really do much on defense, but I mean, Jacoby Myers is another weapon. I mean, they drafted Mayer, which I thought was a good pick.
They got Hunter
And they did draft Tyree Wilson, right?
Yeah.
That was their draft pick. So him opposite Max Crosby, I mean, could cause some teams some problems, especially the Chiefs having, losing both their tackles. But I mean, I would say, Jimmy G doesn't really move the needle. I would probably chalk that up, as a Bills W.
Oh yeah, I would chalk that up as a Bills W.
I mean, that's probably a great home opener. Like you get a West Coast team coming to you. Like, I mean, I don't think you could probably, ask for anything better than that. Like,
yeah.
And last season, the Raiders, they had a couple of games on the East Coast. Early in the morning. They lost to Tennessee. They did beat Houston. I don't know what time that game was. They got shut out by the Saints at 1:00. They lost to Jacksonville at 1:00. They didn't exactly have a good record last year in the 1:00 time slot. I don't have all the the numbers in front of me because I don't have the time starts, but I'm just going off of what I can clearly say and recall. Just going off of their scores from last year, but I mean I like that as a week 1 matchup. Week 3 is it's in your backyard. Washington,
right?
Sam Howell or Brissett, they got a great defense, but I mean we've handled them last couple times we've played them. I mean both games were in Buffalo. Granted, if you go back to 20. I think it would have been 2015 or
it's been a few years.
2015 was the last time we played there, it was Kirk Cousins versus Tyrod. I think Sammy had a big game if I recall.
Yeah, he did.
But I mean,
we dropped that game in.
Yeah, we got steamrolled by Washington that year. So, I mean, and then even going back. I think outside of that, our last game versus Washington would have been from 2015. It would have been 2007 in Washington, which I believe we won on a last-second field goal by Lindell, if I'm not mistaken. That was the Patriots' undefeated season. But, I mean, we haven't really played in Washington. But, I mean, their team, Eric Bieniemy, they got pieces. I really feel like they're kind of like the Jets in a way. Except I feel like they actually have more talent on the offensive side of football because, I think Scary Terry's better than any of their – I think he's better than Garrett Wilson right now. I mean, maybe Wilson ends up developing, but, and then you got their number 2 and 3 was Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, even Diami Brown had a couple of decent games, and I really I've always liked Logan Thomas.
Yeah.
I wish we could have kept them, but it is 100%. What it is. You can't keep them all. But I like what I like this Commanders team. I really do. I don't think it's going to be an easy out, especially with Chase Young and that defensive line. They had a pretty good. They had a decent draft, not amazing, but they have weapons. It really just comes down to how Sam Howell plays, and that's why I'm going to lean us having the victory, and that's why actually this is similar to the Jets playing Washington You want to play this young quarterback as early in the season as possible because this is going to be Howell's 4th career start. So, I mean, he's still basically a rookie as far as experience goes. Yeah, he sat on the bench, but he was learning behind Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke. So, I mean, it's not like he got excellent, quarterback to learn under. I leaned up.
Oh. I think Ben just cut out.
Oh no.
That's all right. We can ride this one together. But like he was saying, like Washington, that Sam Howell hasn't had any good quarterback play. He wasn't learning behind good quarterbacks. Taylor Heineke, I forget who else they had on that roster. Just to go back really quick, they played.
Ben's back.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah.
I was just continuing your point on Washington and Sam Howell on his quarter and he's not having good quarterbacks to learn behind and the inexperience that he had. But just really quick, I want to go back. They played Washington last year. They played them back in 19. Which both of those they were won and they got walloped 35-25 in 2015.
So you guys lean W here?
Oh, I lean a heavy W for the Bills.
I got by at least 2 scores.
At least 2 scores.
I say 3 scores.
Another huge matchup early in the year, week 4, second home game versus Miami. I cannot wait for this game. And honestly, if we're looking at the schedule and games like I want to go to, this is probably maybe besides the home Jets and the home Dallas game, like this is probably the game I want to go to the most. Like I want to smack the little, those little fishies like Tyreek, Waddle. I want to burn Jalen Ramsey. Here's a not so good stat for the Miami fans. Jalen Ramsey speaking of Jalen Ramsey's a fine corner. I mean, yes, he was rated 3rd, but go back and watch that Rams game week 1. We all know what happened, but Josh Allen is undefeated in his career versus Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey has never beaten him. That Jaguars game his first year, both Rams games, he's always torched him. So for Miami fans, I don't know. It could be like I actually say like Miami has a better chance of beating us at the end of the year if we got that 1 seed locked up and we're not playing for seeding and we're just trying to keep guys healthy. Then it might be Kyle Allen versus Tua or Mike White, but so I think, that I like Jalen Ramsey, that's a good pickup, but we faced them before. It's in Buffalo. Last year, obviously the Miami needed like basically 100-degree weather and how many injuries, and then Gabe Davis dropping a touchdown, Josh Allen, muffing the snap at the end of the first half and not being able to spike the ball, which, cost us a field goal. Bass had a field goal tipped. McKenzie couldn't get out of bounds at the end of the game. There was just, Allen allowed that. Not even just Allen, but Dawkins allowed Ingram to run by him and get Allen's blind side, which led to a touchdown. And then you had Jaquan Johnson and Hamlin guarding Waddle on that 3rd and 19 when the Bills were up a touchdown. If they stop them there, they probably win the game. So Miami needed a lot to win that game in Miami, and they almost beat us, but that was, the 0 blitz game. That was our offensive line. That was a fluky game. They did not have a single. They did not have a single. Or no, they had one, but they only had one offensive drive all game that went longer than 30 yards. So
yeah,
I'm excited because I think it's going to be a great matchup. I kind of wish like I said earlier, I wanted this to be the home opener on primetime, a rematch of the playoffs. I mean, to me, I still think the Jets – I still think the Jets are going to be third in the division. So I think this is going to be the top two teams, and that's probably why the schedule makers ended up having it being Miami and us week 18, because they probably figure it's going to come down to us for the division.
Mhm.
So – I would have preferred to start it, but I could also see why they didn't want to start it with Miami and end it with Miami.
Yeah.
But
Too far of a gap, maybe.
yeah, I
the
mean,
gap.
Ben, maybe
this is a game I really want to go to. But I mean, I went to Miami last year. You know, the home game when other fans were throwing snowballs. I mean, that's something that I would never do because that's against the NFL code of conduct. But what were you saying, Tommy?
I was gonna say maybe they flex that later.
Oh, it could be. I mean, it really just depends. Like, it could be a Saturday game too, because like they have like that one Saturday window now. Like the Chiefs Raiders game ended up being played on a Saturday. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, we kind of figured, didn't we, that we would have a home game right before the London game, and then we play the Jags in London the next week. I mean, that's not exactly an easy start to the schedule. I mean, I think Washington and Vegas are a little bit of a break, but I mean, you got two playoff teams from last year. You got the Jets, who played you tough and added Aaron Rodgers. So I mean, the first 5 games, and then you have the Jaguars playing back-to-back London games, which is an interesting dynamic. I know some fans complain. I mean, I could see how that could be a competitive advantage for the Jaguars.
I don't see that as a competitive
advantage.
I
mean, I don't either. Like, I agree. What do you think, Tommy?
I don't think it's a competitive advantage because they're not playing at their home stadium. So it's like
100%. And I mean, I'm going to shout out our good friend Marco, who, I mean, is in a bunch of our Twitter spaces. He's even said, I mean, he gets season tickets. He lives over there. The Jaguars aren't. It's not like they're London's team and everyone gets up and goes to games for Jaguars. Like, those games are pretty neutral even when the Jags are playing.
Right.
It's just going to be interesting because we've never seen a team take or play 2 back-to-back London games. But I mean, it's something I believe we talked about last week being a possibility. And then, of course, we ended up getting sandwiched with 2 home games. I mean, technically that would be 3 home games in a row.
It would be 3 home games.
Yeah. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, we then get the Giants, which is Sunday night, and this was one of the games I thought possibly could have been a primetime. I didn't pick it to be a primetime, but you have so many storylines just built into this game. And another interesting factoid, to my knowledge, Josh Allen has never lost a game when he plays on NBC.
Oh. Maybe that's why Sunday Night Football doesn't like putting Josh Allen on, because he always wins.
Yeah, I mean, that could be true, right? I mean, the season opener last year, home against Green Bay, the divisional round versus the Ravens was on NBC, I believe, Tommy.
The Thanksgiving game was on NBC.
Yep. You're right. I forgot about that one, actually. So I think he's like 6-0 on NBC now.
Wow. It's interesting. I like this stat.
Yeah.
I love this stat.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what's even better? We play the Bengals on Sunday night versus Monday night, so I'll take that.
Oh yeah, take that. Make Buffalo 8-0 on Sunday Night Football. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
Sunday night games, I love it.
Giants. I mean, it's gonna be. You got so many storylines. Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna give us the advantage. I think Josh actually has a reason to kind of show out in that matchup, especially on the national stage.
Yeah.
Considering you had so many narratives this season after Dable won Coach of the Year and the Bills ended up finishing in the same position as the Giants, basically, in the divisional round. There's been so much talk about, did Dable make Josh? Did Josh take a step back? So, I mean, I think Josh has a little bit of extra motivation in this type of matchup.
Right. I'm going to say one thing about this Giants matchup that I feel like it could be where the issue could be. The Bills are coming off a week, I would say maybe 3-4 days in London. Then they're going to have to come back home, jet lag, and then have to play Giants Sunday night against the Giants at home with with all those emotions again, Dable coming back and how he led the Giants back to the playoffs and all that. I think this could potentially be a trap game. Many people thinking this game, the Bills should go into Highmark and win by 2 scores, win 35-14, something like that. The Bills should walk out with an easy victory.
Right.
I say this game is going to be close to the end because of all the emotions, and it could potentially be a game where the Bills, where not a lot of people are thinking they could slip, but they could potentially slip up and
potentially be the game Von Miller comes back as well.
Oh, I like that. Him coming out of running out of the locker room, the tunnel. Sorry. Maybe defensive players get announced, to start that game. That's a good point, Paul. I was, just checking to see who the Giants played that week before, and actually they play Miami in Miami, and we need them to have a big game, but we also need that weather to be a little adverse for the Giants. We need them to be tired out, from the heat, exhausted kind of, because we're coming back, from across the pond trip. We need Miami to kind of get a little heat exhaustion. The Giants, I don't wish for injuries, but I just want them to play a tough game and, some bad weather, kind of like our game last year where, they really just have to grind out a gritty game. I mean, obviously I want the Giants to win the game because I want Miami to lose, but I just think, that's an interesting game to go for the Giants, that they have to play the Dolphins in Miami one week, and then after that they're going to play in Buffalo. So I mean, that's 2 tough games for the Giants too on the flip side. And
what do y'all think about saving Von Miller for this Giants game? I think it'd be the perfect.
I like that. I agree. I mean, I said it, Tommy. Call him out on the defensive starters. Announce the defensive starters. He'll come running out of the locker room. I think that's a good matchup.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you were to, save him for that game, it might energize the team more.
I mean, and that's our second primetime game, which I really like that, that matchup. That's our first home primetime game of the year.
Yep.
I mean, we won our home Sunday night game versus the Packers last year. I mean, I know some fans don't love primetime games, but after, growing up and, being, 20 basically, one of the first, Sunday night games, I'd seen since 2007, like basically you'd get the occasional Monday night game here and there, but I mean, it was far, in between, but like after not getting basically any Sunday night games, growing up for like 15 years as a Bills fan, I'm not going to complain that, to hear. Unfortunately, it's not Al Michaels anymore. I mean, actually, Al Michaels stinks now that he's on Amazon Prime. I mean, I love Al Michaels as a guy. I think he's just kind of doing it for the money. Now, I'm not trying to trash talk him, but I mean, even though it's Tirico, but like, I'm never going to complain hearing the NBC, football theme, which is classic, the Sunday Night Football opening. I mean, I don't know. There's something iconic about Sunday Night Football. Maybe since, I just have so many memories of growing up as a kid and, just ending the day with Sunday Night Football on Sundays is like a staple. But I mean, I'm never going to complain watching Josh Allen and the Bills, introduce themselves on Sunday Night Football. Like, I know the 1:00 games are nice because if the Bills win, you kind of just get to sit back and relax, turn on Red Zone and then, just root against the other AFC East teams. But I mean, I like Sunday night games. I'm not going to lie. I guess season ticket holders don't. So, I mean, I guess there's, 2 sides to every argument.
I guess the uniqueness of Sunday Night Football is like, for our generation, it's the uniqueness of Sunday Night Football because we were growing up with Sunday Night Football. Back then, it used to be Monday Night Football.
I think it's also interesting. You look at how they're doing the flexible Monday night games. You got a couple double headers in the schedule. You even look at the Monday night matchups. It almost seems like, I mean, maybe outside of the Broncos Bills game, because I don't know how the Broncos keep getting primetime games after last year, but it really seems like the NFL is trying to start to make, and maybe it's because ESPN paid all that money for Buck and Aikman. But it really seems like the NFL is trying to make Monday night more of a premier time slot, than it's been. You got that Bills-Jets game. I mean, honestly, we're all going to be biased, but I think more people are going to be interested to see Bills-Jets on 9/11 than Giants-Cowboys. I mean, how many times have we seen Daniel Jones and Dak Prescott have a mid-off, before? So, I think that game is going to rate so well. I won't be surprised. It's one of the best. And if I'm not mistaken, it is a standalone Monday night game. And I know that typically
first ESPN doubleheader is week 3.
Yeah. I mean, last year, did they do a doubleheader? I think they did, right?
They did one doubleheader week 2, and they have 3 doubleheaders this season.
Okay, you're right. But I mean, usually they'll do a doubleheader to start the year. And so I think the fact that it's not a doubleheader, it's kind of a standalone game. You have the whole weekend. I was even listening to One Bills Live, and Mike North said the Monday night game is perfect because you got all your media personalities have all day to kind of hype up the matchup following week 1 after, all your football. You have Rodgers versus Allen, and Rodgers' first game in MetLife under center for the Jets. It's going to be a crazy game. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, but I mean, I just think with some of the, the Monday night matchups, it just kind of shows how the time slot, maybe it's, the NFL wanting to add more juice to that time slot,
right?
So to say. But I mean, after the Giants, then it gets actually kind of easier for a little bit. I mean, we play at the Patriots, which, I mean, I know Christian Gonzalez is a decent pick. The Patriots always have good secondary. They added Juju and Gesicki and O'Brien. So, I mean, I think they'll be better. But we actually usually play the Patriots better at New England. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not really too concerned with what the Patriots are doing. I think maybe, they can catch you on an off day. And I think, they're probably going to actually be more of a thorn in the Dolphins and Jets side is kind of how I see it. I see it. I see it. All 3 of those teams are just kind of going to beat up on each other. One of them might get to 10 wins, but the other 2 are probably going to be 8-9, 9-8. Something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
New England still has a strong running game. They got good weapons. They got, arguably the best coach of all time. So, I mean, I that's just kind of how I see, the division playing out. But I mean, I think that should be, a winnable game. I don't know if you guys have too many thoughts on this Patriots team. There's really not much to say about them.
I guess the interesting thing is, are they retooling or are they rebuilding? I say the rebuilding. They're not going to have a great season. I think they're going to have a mid-season. I planned out almost every AFC record this afternoon.
They wanted Lamar. They wanted 7-10. 8-9, 9-8, somewhere in that range. Nothing more than that. But they wanted a quarterback from Louisville. They got a quarterback from Louisville.
Their weapons don't scare me, Ben.
Yep.
No, so that's why I don't. I think
Malik, I got a hot take. Malik Cunningham is going to end up being the starter by the end of the year.
Wow. Okay.
Write that down. Book it.
Book it. Okay. Let's book
it.
Okay.
You're gonna book it right here. Malik Cunningham.
I'll make sure.
He's gonna take snaps from Stacy's mom. Bailey Zappi. Mac Jones is. He's going to be, I don't even know, he's going to be screaming as he gets carted off the field again because he's going to get his pinky toe stepped on and, break his toenail. And Belichick's just going to have, enough with him. But yeah, we play the Bucks. We talked earlier about Al Michaels. This is the Al Michaels game. Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask that's the one interesting scenario for me in this game is who starts at quarterback or who is still starting at quarterback at this point in the season for Tampa. Tommy, I know you were big on the Mike Evans train. They still have Evans. They still have some, pieces left in that Super Bowl team. at least on defense. Their offensive line is really, and that's probably why Brady honestly had such a bad year last year, is just because of how many pieces they lost on that O-line. But I mean, they lost Shaq Mason too. So I mean, I don't envision it being better. I mean, Baker was okay. Well, he was on the Rams, but I mean, that was with Sean McVay as their offensive coordinator. I don't even remember who do you know who the Bucks hired for their OC, Tommy?
They had Byron Leftwich, or did Leftwich go?
No, Leftwich last year. Yeah.
I don't think they hired one, really. I think they're leaving it.
Fired. No, they hired someone. Who they hired? I know there was, let me see. Buccaneers offensive.
I can't remember who it was.
Leader. Dave Canales. Okay.
Don't know.
Let me see who Dave Canales is. 7 things to know about Bucks offensive coordinator Dave Canales. Okay. I guess he's okay. He was with the Seahawks and helped Geno Smith, revive. So maybe he either helps Trask or Mayfield. Interesting. I mean, they've still got some weapons. I actually really like Rachaad White.
Yeah.
Their defense, I mean, it's obviously not that same Super Bowl defense, which was, giving Patrick Mahomes nightmares. So, I mean, I think that's a winnable game on the schedule.
On there, yep.
And then the following week, we got another Sunday night game, which, hopefully our undefeated, NBC record, holds up at that point, because we'll be playing the Bengals for, a rematch, revenge, whatever you want to call it, from, that Monday night game, the playoff game. A lot is going to be on the line, and I have a feeling that it's going to have major AFC seeding implications.
Oh, it will be.
We have some rest in between this game as well.
Yeah,
that is a good point. I mean, we get
10 days
that mini bye plus it's on Monday. Or sorry, it's a Sunday night. I was going to say this on Monday, but yeah, okay, we still get the mini bye because it's Thursday. And I believe the Bengals might be coming off a short week. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just making that up. Sorry. But anyways, I like this game for us. I like the spot here. I mean, we obviously know what's at stake, and yes, if there's a long season. Like, I mean, if the Bengals, beat us, it means nothing. If we beat them, I mean, it really all comes down to January. But I mean, obviously the path in January will be easier.
No, they're coming off a Sunday game against San Francisco.
Okay, thank you. But so, I mean, it will be easier if you get that 1 seed, because that's the same thing last year. Kansas City didn't have to play Allen or Burrow until the championship game. They got to play an inexperienced Trevor Lawrence in the divisional round, and who knows how the divisional round goes if we play anyone else besides Burrow. I mean, it's kind of the same thing back in 2021 when we played Mahomes. Like, who knows how the divisional round goes if we're not stuck playing him. Like, what if we played the Bengals at home in the divisional round with Allen playing at that level? Like, they probably win. I mean, then the Chiefs weren't the 1 seed. I mean, I think they would have gone to Tennessee. And I mean, who knows what happens that game? Like, I think that the Titans beat the Chiefs in the regular season. So, I mean, it's all about matchups too. But I mean, this is gonna be a huge game. I mean, I was off because I thought ESPN would want this game, but I guess they ended up getting the Jets game, which is probably gonna rate very well as well. But I mean, this is going to be a huge game. I have a feeling there's going to be millions of people, tuning in. This is probably going to be one of the best rated games of the year in my eyes.
For the Sunday night slate.
You got Hamlin coming back to Paycor Stadium. You got the Bills, trying to, come off after that disappointing finish to the end of last year. I mean, this is a massive game to me. And then after that, like, it gets it doesn't really let up anywhere besides that stretch where you get, the Giants, the Patriots, the Bills, after the Jaguars. But I mean, after the Bengals, you play the Broncos, which is pretty manageable on Monday night.
Yeah, it's
someone at the NFL scheduling HQ has to be, a Denver fan or something, which is how they keep
They
getting
have
these
to be.
games.
Yeah.
But then the schedule gets interesting because you're home against the Jets, at the Eagles, at the Chiefs, and the Chiefs game is, of course, off the bye week. But all three of those games are 4:25 p.m. Sunday games.
right.
I just
So,
realized that now.
yeah. And then actually after that,
Yeah,
we have
yeah,
four
you
in
have
a row
four.
because you got Dallas, and then after that you got the Chargers, which is a Saturday night game, the first ever NFL game
Is that
on Peacock.
That's the only game that's on that.
Yes,
that,
it is a stand. Oh,
it's not. It's a standalone Saturday game, but
they
it's
might have other games. Sometimes they'll have multiple
games
Saturday
before.
games. I don't know. I don't know if it's like the Black Friday type thing. I know it is the first NFL game ever streamed exclusively on Peacock.
Okay.
So I know they're trying out, and which is kind of cool. Like, we didn't get the Amazon Prime game, but I mean, honestly, who cares? We were on Amazon Prime last year. Like, I guess it's cool,
No,
instead of Black Friday.
We do have an Amazon Prime.
Well, I mean, the Black Friday. Sorry,
Oh,
we didn't make
Black
history in that regard.
Oh, okay. I
Like,
gotcha.
we could have been the first. I mean, that Chargers game could have been a Black Friday game, maybe, but I don't know. I kind of like it at the end of the year. Like,
Right.
I mean, I like going to the Jets week 1.
That actually might be the only game on the 23rd.
Yeah, me too.
I think everybody else plays on Christmas Eve.
It is.
You're
not.
looking at the 23rd.
I have the schedule right here. Week 16, Saturday, December 23rd. Bengals Steelers start at 4:30. That's the NBC game. Right after that, they're going to carry in that audience from NBC to Peacock at 8 o'clock.
Okay,
How are
so
they going to?
that game? There's games that day.
So they're basically giving you NBC, that free standalone 4:30 game, and after the Bengals Steelers go, and they're going to direct everyone to Peacock, and
Yeah,
and
but
that's
how
how
are
you're going to watch that Bills Chargers game. So they're
there's
trying
gonna-
to sandwich that game through on Peacock.
Okay.
And I don't think anyone has Peacock. So I don't.
I
Besides,
don't either.
You got
I mean,
Peacock,
it's
Tommy?
$5, but I don't
I'll
know.
be able to Peacock. I'll be able to watch it.
You have it?
Yeah, I forgot Peacock. Yeah,
How is it?
it's not bad.
alright. I've tried it before. There's nothing really good. Honestly,
Yeah.
there's no really good movies on
That's
it.
interesting. I like that is not the first Herbert Allen matchup because they played 2020's rookie year, but I like that as a primetime game. I mean, it really seems like all these big quarterback matchups that we got on the schedule. I mean, maybe outside of Mahomes, like most of them are in primetime slots, and even that Mahomes game's at 4:25, which is probably going to have a national audience.
Right.
Because it's not at prime time, so you would assume CBS, reserved that game for the national audience. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got a tough stretch to end the year. I mean, but the Jets have a tough, schedule as well. Their first 6 games. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I just think the way the AFC is, I think we got the advantage as for the Bills because I mean McDermott, Allen, in the NFL, continuity really helps and goes a long way. And I think that's part of the reason why Denver had such a poor start to the season last year and why their offense was so bad, because they just threw in a brand new first-time head coach and a quarterback who really, relied a lot on having a great running game and a great defense. And he didn't really have a great running game. He had a good defense, but stuff he didn't have. And that paired with a first-time head coach really wasn't, a great success. So I think, when you just look at some of these other teams, I know Cincinnati kind of was new to the scene and they just jumped in out of nowhere, kind of similar to the Jags last year. But even you look at the Chiefs, how many years has Reed been going to the playoffs in Kansas City and coming up short? So, I think there's a little bit of, precedence to, just being there and being the same group of guys. And yeah, you're going to come up short sometimes. But I think, just the fact that, the Bills have, been to the playoffs 5 out of the last 6 years. They'll hopefully be a lot healthier than they were. And I really like what they did in free agency. So, I mean, even though this looks like a tough schedule, I mean, I think they're built for it. That's just my opinion. I mean, the Jets, you got question marks about how they're going to look with Rodgers his first year there. I mean, they only won 7 games last year with a much easier schedule. I mean, Rodgers is 40 years old. I mean, not every quarterback is Tom Brady, especially the way that Brady took care of his body and really approached the game much differently than any other athlete. So, I mean, I just can't say that Rodgers is going to step in and win 13 games. I mean, I just
don't see that
I can't say that, we're going to win 14 games because of how hard this schedule is, but I don't think you necessarily need to. But I mean, I think every AFC team is really going to be battling out. I mean, even the Bengals, like every team in the AFC North, if you look at it, had a very good draft. They made good additions in the offseason. I mean, the Browns they brought in they just traded for Zadarius Smith. They brought in Elijah Moore, of course. I mean, they added some other odds and end pieces, and then they had a very good draft. And this is going to be, the first full year of Deshaun. I mean, you got Kenny Pickett year 2 after. I mean, they had a winning record, Pittsburgh, after starting out the season, 2-8, Tommy? So, yeah. I mean, that division is going to get harder for the Bengals, especially since Lamar finally has weapons and they still have a very good defense in Baltimore. I mean, I think the Chargers will have a tougher time. I mean, if you really look at it, I think the Jaguars almost have inside track to that 1 seed.
Yeah, they have the easiest path.
They have that easy kind of. Yeah. I mean, I guess is kind of what you consider easy. I mean, I went through their schedule. I calculated every AFC record. I have them only winning 11 games.
Jacksonville.
But it's who they're facing.
Yeah,
it's what gets me. I forget which division the AFC
okay,
South,
they play obviously they play the AFC South because that's what 6 of their 17 games, but then they also play the NFC South. They play the AFC North which is a little tougher, and then they play obviously the Bills and the Chiefs and the Bengals.
Right. So that's where
But I mean, their division and the NFC South, that's almost like 10 free wins.
It's like it's like 10 free wins. But I mean, I think there's a couple of trap games in their division. I mean, they haven't really played Indy well at home. They haven't really played Tennessee well on the road. So I think there's some games where
even
they're going to slip. Yes, I think Houston are 2 easy wins, but I think the Jaguars will have some sort of slip. I think the NFC South is another division that's really interesting. Is who's going to win that? There's
because
number 1 quarterback, but except Derek Carr.
I would pick NFC South winner. I'll probably go with the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about it just reminds you of the professional version of the SEC.
I think they had the most experienced quarterback in that division, so I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Yeah, I would say so, but I think
I kind of like what Carolina's doing. If Bryce has a solid rookie year, I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting. I mean, this schedule. I mean, again, you don't have back-to-back road games. I mean, you had the London game, but I mean, 6 primetime games, and then you only have 5 1:00 games. I mean, as far as
that much.
I don't think the Bills really got screwed at the schedule. I think
it's a fair schedule.
Yeah, I think it's a fair schedule. This is probably the best schedule we've had recently.
And you get some rest in between our hardest games, which is the Eagles, the Bengals, Chiefs. You get rest there.
100%. Even the Jets too, right? The Jets week 1. That's week 1.
Yeah,
we get all off season to prepare for that game, right? We don't have to, spend a week, watch a film or whatever. We can literally go all off season, watching whatever they were doing. Hackett's, offense, Rodgers MVP seasons in Green Bay, trying to, get a feel of how that defense, confused Josh or, brought so much pressure. So,
Right.
It's nice, those games we get the most time to prepare. But I mean, other than that, I mean, you end the season in Miami after you play the Patriots. But I mean, I guess we'll just go through this stretch, between Miami, Jacksonville, the Giants, Tampa Bay, Cincy, the Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, and Chargers. I mean, you got like 9 games against playoff teams from last year. So I know football is a year to year. Not, of course, probably not every one of those teams are going to make the playoffs again last year. But I mean, on paper, it is a very loaded schedule. I mean, I don't think there's too many necessarily. I mean, again, you made a good point about how we have the most time off for our hardest games. But I mean, other than, the stretch where we go from the Giants to the Patriots to the Bucks, we then play the Bengals, Broncos, Jets, Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys, and Chargers. Like, I mean, it doesn't really let up anywhere. But I mean, I like the schedule overall. I mean, we all knew the teams that we were going to be playing, so nothing really is a shock.
Right. I guess I'm looking at that Week 14 game as a key moment. You're coming off the bye. It's what the Bills do before the KC game. What makes that KC game important?
I mean, honestly, I'm probably gonna, depending. I mean, maybe not even depending. Like, I'll probably see everyone in Miami for Week 19. I'm adding weeks now, but 18. Hopefully, we're clinching the 1 seed. Celebrating Miami's Bills Mafia. But anything else on the schedule? I mean, I like it overall. I mean, I think I guess we'll go through and do full game by game predictions. I mean, I think right now, hardest games, of course, would be at the Jets, at Miami, at the Bengals. The Cowboys, Eagles, home against the Jets. I mean, then the Chiefs. I mean, other than that, I mean, I mean, I really think you should be able to at least. I mean, I'd say 11-6 is probably the floor, kind of what we got a couple years ago, and I'd say what we got the year before, 14-3.
You think 14-3 could be the ceiling?
15-2. I mean, depends who we win. I mean, if we start out this, here's the thing, it's very tough, between even that from the Miami to the Chargers game. It doesn't really let up, right? I mean, I think we said there's like about 9 playoff teams or something like that, but you start the season with the Jets, then the Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, Jags, Giants, Patriots, and Bucks. Like, really, the toughest out of those games is probably at the Jets. That Sunday night game could be interesting because you're in London the week before, but I mean, I think we're still a better team than any of those teams right now. So, I mean, I'm not saying the Bills are going to start 9-0, but I mean, there's a path to starting 9-0, and then whatever happens to that Cincy game, I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I mean, they could be something like 10-1. I mean, maybe even 11-0 going into that Philly game, and then they play the Chiefs after
10-1 before the Philly game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So then if you beat Philly, then you play the Chiefs. I mean, we played the Chiefs well, but even if you lose to the Chiefs, that's 2 losses. I think the Cowboys, Chargers, Patriots are all winnable games, and then maybe it all depends. Do you need that? Your starters for that Miami game. If not, then maybe that's another loss. But I mean, I think the ceiling could be 14-15. That's just how I view it right now. I mean, obviously you got to play the games.
I got 12-5, Ben. And
okay.
I
like it.
But does 12-5 win the 1 seed?
I don't know.
Maybe this year it could, because if you recall, we were 1 game away from getting the 1 seed in 2021 when we went 11-6. Like, we would have got the 1 seed 2 seasons ago with 13 wins.
Right. I mean, it could get us either the 1 or I think it definitely could get us the 2 seed.
I have the Bills at the 1 seed, 13-4. I have the two
Okay.
seeds where the Bengals are 12-5.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's where I think the
Depend
one
on
seed is.
tiebreakers as well. Like if we get 25, it depends on tiebreakers. Like what
Yeah.
match we lose.
Yeah.
It could depend on tiebreakers.
I mean, we'll definitely do like a full season predictions as we get closer. I mean, we got training camp coming up, and we got OTAs, mini camp. I mean, and speaking of mini camps, we finally got rookie,
Our rookies
Dalton
in,
Kincaid
Yeah.
and company finally arrived to One Bills Drive this weekend. Dalton, of course, signed his official contract, so all the rookies are now under contract, and Kincaid did say last week at minicamp, got the best of the bunch when addressing a question about being drafted by the Bills. And Osiris said he and Cromer had the same feeling that I had with him at the combine. So both used time at minicamp to learn the offense. Which rookie do you think will stand out this season? I mean, honestly, I think probably Torrance will maybe have the better year, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Kincaid has a great year too.
I'm gonna go throw out just on a little limb. We're talking Torrance and we're talking Kincaid. They're both really great picks.
Right.
How about Shorter? I mean, if he can, I think he has a case. At the end of the season, he can be the solid number 3 receiver over Shakir if he gets the
I don't
time
know
to
about
do it.
that, Paul. I really like Shakir. I mean, if
I like Shakir
if
too,
anyone's
but
losing their job, could it be Davis? Maybe. Like I like Shakir's skill set. I think he's like a mini Diggs.
could you have you can have a 1, a 2, a 3A, and a 3B.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that
interesting.
I think that's how it could turn out. That's if Shorter gets the chance to perform the way he's supposed to. I mean, he's big, he's full of muscle.
Yeah, I just think, you look at where he was drafted, and I think he starts out on special teams, but I mean, I think he'll probably get like 4 touchdowns this season. But I mean, I just think it's Kincaid who's going to get most of the production. But I mean, I like that idea. Like, you get this big, muscular, physical receiver specimen. I mean, I just think he's kind of raw, similar to Gabe Davis coming out of UCF. I actually kind of like Shorter skill set more overall, even though Davis may have been slightly a better route runner. I think Shorter could get some run. I mean, he could even be a downfield weapon, maybe even a red zone weapon. But I think Kincaid. I mean, he's a first round pick for a reason. He's gonna be a big part in the offense, and I think Torrance, they probably drafted him to be a starter. Otherwise, I think they probably wait and maybe just go with Broker if they're planning on just being Bates and McGovern as starters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think the rookie I'm more intrigued is to see how Dorian Williams pans out at linebacker.
You think he's going to start at a middle linebacker day one, Tommy, or no?
I'm going to say no, but he could transition into starting maybe by week 4 or 5, week 6.
Week 5? Yeah, kind of, because didn't Ramon Humber start over Matt Milano's rookie season, and then, Milano just took the job and never really looked back, and now he's an all-pro.
Right, so I think Dorian could step up and take that job by week 4 or 5 or 6.
So, Paul, what you think? I mean, I like the idea Shorter. I mean, I just kind of, got to picture it. Obviously he's not going to start week 1. I mean, what situation or path do you see to Shorter, getting time on the field? Maybe an injury? I mean, I don't know.
I honestly just feel like he's just going to perform well in practice. He's going to get the eyes of the coach, and they're going to say,
but here's the keep going.
I think he's going to get the eyes of the coach, and then maybe something happens and they have to, because he's doing so well in practice, they're going to have to put him onto the field and see what he does. And I think kind of like they did with Shakir last year, they just threw him onto the field, see how he did. And Shakir performed really well, but he didn't do well in practice. I think that's what propels Shorter over Shakir.
I don't know though. I mean, how do you know that Shakir didn't do well in practice? Like, I mean, I think it's all speculation. Like,
I
because like Shakir played, like, go back to that Baltimore game. Like, he had a couple catches. Like, he had that sideline, one after Allen spun out. I mean, he had a couple big catches versus Pittsburgh. Like, I mean, I guess that could be true, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like if anything, it may have been more on Chad Hall, and something was off with the offense, receiving coach, because even Hodgins played better when he left.
right.
But I mean, it's interesting. But I mean, I still like Hardy. I still like Sherfield even. I mean, I think Shorter is gonna be Gabe's replacement eventually, but I think this season he's most of his role is gonna be on special teams. Like, I like your pick, Tommy. I don't know. I mean, I just feel all these rookies. I mean, I think all these rookies honestly have a path to significant playing time, other than Broker, other than I mean, maybe you could go Austin too, being a low round corner. I mean, I think any of these rookies have a chance. I mean, I love what Shorter can do as a downfield threat and his potential. I mean, he's got like a DK Metcalf type skill set. I mean, the only thing is questionable college production. Part of it, you could say, is his quarterback situation has never been amazing. I mean, Dorian Williams, you kind of wonder about his size, but I mean, he's a very athletic guy. I mean, if you just watch him play, he looks like he has a knack for finding, the ball carrier, and very instinctive. I mean, I love Osiris Torrance. Like, he didn't give up like a single pressure, not just sack. Like, I mean, he kept Richardson upright, who's a similar quarterback stylistically to Josh. I mean, Kincaid. I mean, I'm just glowing about that Kincaid pick. I mean, I think, in a draft where you probably didn't have a bunch of holes, I think Bean did a nice job of, getting capital for next year. I mean, I think it's a good draft. I mean, another pickup, we probably could mention, I mean, Latavius Murray, Shane Ray. I mean, Beans, I mean, yes, you could say he's bargain bin shopping, but not all these guys are 33 years old like Murray. I mean, Harris is young. I mean, Hardy's young. Sherfield's pretty young. I mean, even Ray, I mean, he's been out of the league for 4 years, but he's 29. I mean, that's not old for a defensive end.
No, I don't think. I think Beans having an underrated offseason is just not being picked up as a good offseason by the national outlook. And I think that's the problem. Is like he's having a really good offseason.
I agree.
I mean, I think he had an A or B type draft. I mean, there's some picks you can obviously go in and pick which ones you like and which ones you don't like. He's making the signings that we expected him to pick up. We all talked about we needed a better running back. Here it is. It's Damian Harris. It's not Saquon, but it's Damian Harris.
I mean, and we did add. I mean, we added weapons. You can't say we're not trying to help Josh get receivers or whatever. It's not DeAndre Hopkins, but they're upgrades from who we had in the room last year, and we got him another weapon in Kincaid to go with Knox, and then the offensive line. I mean, how many fans talked ad nauseum to end the season about how much our offensive line stunk? Well, you wanted heavy resources in the offensive line. Well, you got 2 offensive guards in free agency, an offensive tackle in free agency, plus 2 guards in the draft. So, I mean, they spent, I mean, not heavy resources, but I mean, even McGovern, they gave a little bit of dough to, and Torrance was a 2nd-round pick when they could have taken, Drew Sanders or another quality player. So, I mean, that's still pretty, high resources, a 2nd-round pick. So, I mean, I think we addressed everything. I mean, we did address linebacker. I mean, it's just not Tremaine Edmonds. We brought in, I mean, we retained Poyer as well as bringing in Taylor Rapp. I mean, I'd say backup quarterback is just probably the biggest area of weakness for me now. But I mean, I'm ready to go. To September.
I got a question before we get out of here. I was gonna ask y'all, what undrafted free agent rookie do y'all think is cheaper to make the roster?
So I don't
gotta
know if
remember
he's
who picked it up.
I don't think he would technically be a f- uh, a rookie. So I guess because we were working out that Florida State defensive tackle yesterday, but I think he already got signed before, so I think he technically has been on NFL rosters before. So I guess from this year's class, I mean, I know we got the guy Dale, who's a defensive lineman from Alabama, who was could have been a later round pick. But, speaking of receiver, I'm actually going to go with Jalen Wayne. He played very well in the Senior Bowl. He, didn't really play on the national spotlight because, I mean, he played in the FCS at, South Alabama, or I'm not sure if South Alabama is.
I don't think they're an FCS school.
Maybe not, but either way, they're not a nationally recognized brand. They're a lower level, FBS school that plays in. I don't even know what conference South Alabama plays in.
Jeez, I don't know.
Yeah, I like
There's
the kid
some
from Alabama.
But I mean, he's got the pedigree being, Reggie Wayne's cousin. I mean, he had a play. I'm trying to remember which cornerback it was. Okay, yeah. Sunbelt's not FCS, but it's low level FBS. He made a play in the Senior Bowl against a one of the second or third round corners. Who did the Bears? Which cornerback did the Bears select again, Paul?
Ooh, I will get that up right now.
Oh, sorry. I thought but I remember seeing a route of him, in the Senior Bowl. He was under-recognized.
They got Tyreek Stevenson.
He crossed up Tyreek Stevenson out of Miami. Yep, he crossed up Tyreek Stevenson in the Senior Bowl. Like, just look it up on Twitter. I mean, I think Paul. I mean, it's a good thought with Shorter, but my hot take is Shorter actually ends up on the practice squad, and Jalen Wayne ends up getting a roster spot over him, or Wayne gets a roster spot over Sherfield. But I mean, that's my pick. I mean, I think Jalen Wayne, has potential.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Jalen Wayne. But quick note on
tackle from Alabama.
DJ Dale, I think that's his name, right? DJ.
Yeah, DJ Dale.
I think he could take over for one of our
Daquan, maybe.
I don't think Daquan. I think what's the other one that we have?
At Oliver.
Not Oliver.
Tim Settle. Tim Settle. Yeah.
I think he's gonna take Tim Settle's roster spot.
Okay, I would be for that. I mean,
that's a hot take.
Again, I feel like we got a lot of guys on this team to compete. It seems like a lot of the guys are young and they have potential, and they're signing, at cheaper rates to play in Buffalo. Like, I mean, it really just seems like a bunch of guys are buying in. And I know last year everyone's like, oh, there's a bunch of people chasing rings, but I mean, I think you even look at this year, there's a lot more, free agent acquisitions than we made last year. So, I mean, I like this offseason, and I cannot wait for, week 1, that matchup versus the Jets. But I mean, I don't think I got anything else on, the schedule or, mini camp. I mean, I'm just looking forward to, football starting. I don't know about you guys.
We all are.
Oh, I'm just, biting my tongue at it. I want it to come quick.
Just a quick note on Jalen Wayne. I think he's the cousin of Reggie Wayne.
Yeah, yep. I did mention that earlier. He's second cousin with Reggie Wayne. Yep.
That name recognition.
He's got the pedigree. He's got that pedigree.
Yep. Yeah. That's all I got tonight. You guys got anything else?
So that's a wrap on the show, guys. I mean, on another great edition of the Undercovers podcast. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter for the latest news and reactions around the NFL. Finally, tune in to the Buffalo Basement on Wednesday. It's going to happen at Wednesday, 8 o'clock on their Twitter and YouTube. That is a new podcast coming to the Undercovers Network.
Yep.
So with that, we'll see you all next week. Have a great week.
Have a good one, guys.
Go Bills.